Today, I'd like to take you on a journey to one of the most famous buildings in all of Britain, the Tower of London. It's more than just stone walls and iron gates. It's a place soaked in history, mystery, and more than its fair share of blood. Now, when you think of the Tower of London, you might imagine kings and queens, guards in funny hats, or maybe the crown jewels. And you'd be right. But the tower has a much darker side. It's been a royal palace, a fortress, a prison, and even a zoo. But what makes it truly unforgettable are the stories, especially the ones about death, betrayal, and ghosts. The tower was built by William the Conqueror in 1078. He wanted to show the Londoners who was boss. And let me tell you, it worked. The big white stone keep, now known as the White Tower, was like a punch in the face to anybody thinking of rebelling. Over the centuries, the tower grew. Kings added walls, towers, and dungeons, and it became not just a royal residence, but a prison for traitors, queens, and anyone who fell out of favour. And it wasn't just a prison, it was a place of execution and even torture.
I think the worst thing about being in the tower, even if you were rich and you were comfortable and you were well provided for, I think the worst thing was the uncertainty of never knowing when the constable was going to come to your door and say either that you were going to be executed on the morrow, 9 o'clock, or you were free to go.
Perhaps the most famous execution at the tower was that of Anne Boleyn, the second wife of Henry VIII. Poor Anne, she was accused of adultery, witchcraft and treason, though it's likely none of it was true. In 1536 she was taken to the Tower Green just inside the walls. There she knelt down, prayed, and was beheaded by a French swordsman. Her final words were calm and dignified. Some say she still walks near the site of her death, holding her head under her arm.
Anne Boleyn was executed in an unusual manner. She was not executed by an axe. In fact, the king sent to Saint-Domingue in France for an experienced swordsman to strike off her head because it would be a quicker, cleaner death. And this is thought to have been in return for her cooperation in agreeing to the annulment of her marriage and the bastardy of her daughter. And her head was sliced off literally in an instant, we're told. The head was lifted up in the usual manner, and the executioner cried, "Behold the head of a traitor." And at that moment the eyes and lips were seen to move, and the onlookers were absolutely shocked.
Not long after, Catherine Howard, Henry's fifth wife, met the same fate. She was only a teenager. Some say on the night before her execution, she screamed so loudly that the guards were shaken to their bones.
The night before her execution, she asked for the block to be brought to her apartments so that she could practice how to lay her head on it and make a good death, so she wouldn't let down the noble house of Howard, of which she was a member.
And then there were the princes in the tower, Edward V and his younger brother Richard. After their father, King Edward IV, died, they were locked up in the tower by their uncle, Richard III. One day, they simply vanished. Many believe they were murdered, perhaps by Richard himself, though their bones weren't found until nearly 200 years later. To this day, no one knows the full truth.
By whom? Only one person could be responsible for the prince's deaths, and that was Richard III. Thomas More gives a very detailed account of the murder. He says that the princes were murdered by arrangement of Sir James Tyrrell on Richard's orders, and that two men were actually instructed to do the murder, to suffocate them with pillows, whilst Tyrrell waited outside the door, and that they were buried neatly deep under the stairfoot under a great pile of rubble. And that is exactly where, in 1674, a chest was found containing human bones.
The tower is often said to be the most haunted place in Britain. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the stories are chilling.
You do get a shiver up the spine as you're walking around, especially on a damp, foggy, misty night around the tower. It can be really off-putting, it really can.
Let's start with Anne Boleyn again. Many have claimed to see her ghost walking near the Queen's house. Some say she's in white, others say she's carrying her head. A guard once fainted after seeing her figure drift down a hallway, only to vanish through a wall. There's also the ghost of Lady Jane Grey, the 9 Days Queen. Just 17 years old, she was used as a political pawn and crowned queen briefly. But Mary I took the throne and had her executed in 1554. Her ghost is said to appear on the anniversary of her death, pale and sorrowful, staring from a window. And what about the White Lady? She's seen waving from a window in the White Tower. Some have said they've smelled a strange perfume before seeing her, only to be gripped by fear and sickness. And then there's the ghost of a bear. Yes, even a bear. When the tower housed a royal menagerie, a polar bear was kept there. One night, a guard reported seeing a bear coming straight for him. He lunged with his bayonet, but it went right through. He died of shock shortly after. Not all the stories were about the royals though. Some of the darkest tales come from the tower's torture chambers. Though torture was rare in England, it did happen here. A man named Guy Fawkes, who tried to blow up Parliament in 1605, was tortured for days in the tower. His signature, when forced to confess, was barely a squiggle. His hands were so ruined from the rack, he could barely write. There's also the Jesuit priest John Gerard, who was tortured but escaped the tower by sliding down a rope across the moat, with damaged hands and all. What a brave soul. These days the tower is a much friendlier place. The crown jewels are there, and millions visit each year. You'll see the beefeaters in their bright red uniforms telling stories just like this. And of course the ravens. There's a legend that if the ravens ever leave the tower, the kingdom will fall. So they clip the birds' wings, just in case. The Tower of London is more than just an old castle. It's a place of power, pain, and persistence. From queens who lost their heads, to ghosts who won't rest, to mysterious disappearances and brave escapes. Every stone has a story. So next time you visit, walk a little slower, listen for the whispers, look up at the windows, and if you smell an odd perfume, don't follow it.